for someone starting the transition process at 16, myself, I thought myself and my family did quite well, and that we started early. We started at 16, and it was very much with a view to moving out when I was 18. We didn't expect it to take any shorter of time. It's not like we were sitting going, yeah, I'll be out in 6 months. No, we knew it probably take as long as it did. We first wrote to Edinburgh Council to sort of start the planning process, because at the time I didn't have an allocated social worker. So we thought, right, well, first thing we need is a social worker. But when we got in contact with them, we were basically told, well, she only qualifies to be on the B waiting list, and the A waiting list is really long. And my dad was like saying, well, if you keep her on the B waiting list, she's going to be 25 by the time she gets to move out, and that's not really any good. So what we did was we wrote a formal complaint to Edinburgh Council and basically said, look, I need a social worker now. I'm ready to start this process. All your literature and everything bangs on about independent living. Here's somebody that's ready to do it, and you're actually telling them, oh no, you're a B case because you're not an emergency. There was housing, social work, my family, and also latterly when the care agency that I was going to use was chosen, Thistle became involved in the planning process, basically saying to the social worker, in order to provide a 24-hour package, this is roughly the amount of money that you're going to have to get for Emma, because my social worker didn't have much experience of, getting people into the independent living planning thing, apart from when it had become a crisis. So because I wasn't a crisis, she couldn't understand why I would want to live independently. So that was actually a real barrier to the planning process. My social worker, when I was allocating my property, the first thing she said was, "Oh, that's not near the university," and I was a bit like, "Well, yeah, I'm capable of getting on a bus." Or the student authority in Scotland was willing to provide funding for me to get a taxi. But again, it just shows you that even when my uni stuff was all confirmed, and that was all sorted, again, a stumbling block was perceived by the social worker because all the property wasn't near the university, and it was just like, planning process was a bit of a mess, to be honest. I definitely felt like the driving force behind the process, because without my sort of determination, I don't think it would have happened. I had to keep saying, I want this, and I want this for the right reasons. I want to be independent. It doesn't have to be a crisis situation in order for me to want this. I think that's where my social worker came unstuck. She thought there must be some sort of problem for me to want to live independently, and it's like, well, no, most 18, 19-year-olds want to live independently. In my view, she was a social worker, so it's her job to be, to be doing her job properly. I just said to her, look, you really need to be a bit more clued up on the process, and if you've not got the knowledge, that's fine. We all have gaps in our knowledge, but you need to admit that, rather than putting stumbling blocks in the way all the time, because actually she was scared of the process. It had nothing to do with my ability to go through the process. I think she was scared of the process. But luckily I had a advocate who was clued up on independent living, etc., and who actually had meetings with a social worker to bring her up to speed on what was available and what was out there. I applied for direct payments because I was told basically that was the only way that I was going to get to choose who supported me. I think the funding was always going to be there because my needs are pretty self-evident. In order to live independently, I was definitely going to need a substantial care package, but I chose to go down the direct payment route because actually that meant that I could choose the agency that I wanted. Also, it means that in the future, if I ever wanted to go and be a direct employer of staff, I've got the correct funding there. I found the process of applying for direct payments really difficult, again, because of my social worker's lack of knowledge. I think I was one of very few direct payment applications that she'd done, so at every turn she was actually saying, I don't know how to justify a direct payment for you. And we were sitting going, well, I meet every single one of the eligibility criteria. We don't know what the problem is, but again, that's why my advocate was really important, because she met up with my social worker and I think basically told her what to say to the panel in order to get the direct payment. It's not like she was telling her to say anything that wasn't true. She was just pointing out the things that actually seemed to be going over my social worker's head and saying, well, you can say this because this relates to this, and this is how Emma's entitled to it and stuff. So yeah, I found it really difficult, and it took ages as well. All my house and stuff was allocated way before the direct payment, and I left Start Aid. I found it took a long time, and nobody really talked to you, nobody really communicated with you from what is now the Funding Independence team, but back then was the direct payments team. I found the communication really poor. The fact that my house was ready before my funding was ready was really difficult, actually, because the housing association were asking for rent. And I was sort of saying, well, I'm not in the house, and they were sort of saying, well, yeah, that's your problem. And I was going, well, no, actually, it's not my problem, it's the council's problem. If you've got a problem, take it up with the council. But I don't think, again, I think there was gaps in the housing association's knowledge, because they hadn't really dealt with someone who was in the process of trying to get a care package before, so they can understand, these things take time. I don't know how many times I had to say that on the phone to them. Give me a break. It's not me that's holding up the process, it's the process that I'm having to go through. It's a small process of getting funding that's holding up the big process of me trying to move into the house. Obviously, my disability means that, I'm very restricted in the sort of work that I could do. My volunteer job, again, as I've said, allows flexibility. It's within an organisation who understand disability and all that comes with it, all the potential difficulties, and just all the little things that nobody really thinks about. That actually, it takes me 2.5 hours to get ready in the morning. I don't, my disability means that I don't ever really see myself being in full time 9 to 5 employment. But certainly, if I was going to, ever go through the process of going into paid employment, I'd be looking for something that matched my intellect. No disrespect to anybody that works in Tesco's or anything, but I don't want to work in Tesco. I think there's a tendency for people to go, oh well, that would do you because that's the job. No. At the moment, I don't feel able to take on employment, so I do my volunteering, my therapy. The organisation that I volunteer for are always saying to me, oh, thanks very much, and actually it's a bit like, well, no, thank you very much, because actually you help me too. You mean that I get out of the house, and not that I wouldn't get out of the house otherwise, but I get out of the house with a purpose, but yeah, I'm not under any pressure and I'm not in pain doing it. No 2 days are the same. I think a lot of social workers and a lot of professionals that are involved in the transition process want to plan down to every single last detail. Well, actually, no, people aren't robots, and people don't live their life going, oh yes, on Tuesday at 1 o'clock I'm going to go to the toilet. It just doesn't. It doesn't happen. So don't. Can we not have a bit of a better system going through the transition process and having my own place and my own support package? It's made a big difference to me. I can do what I want when I want. I've been to university. I've got I've got an honours degree as a result. I don't think I would have done that, or would have maybe enjoyed it as much had I been living at home, because if I'd been living at home, I would have had to sort of fit in with my parents, which I was happy to do, when it was appropriate. But if you choose to live at home when you're at university, that's different. If you're able to come and go as you please, then that's fine. But if you're not able to come and go as you please, then that can make it difficult. So I think it made the process of university much easier, and I think my relationship with my family is probably better as a result of having moved out than I did. I do feel somewhat bitter towards um, the social work department, because yes, I've got what I need, but it's not. Yes, they provide the money, but actually the process didn't get complete thanks to any of them. It was thanks to me. Thanks to my determination, I think a lot of people would have given up. And actually, a lot of my early years in my house were spent mopping up their mistakes, whether it be that's been funded wrong, or your housing benefits wrong, or stuff like that. Stuff that I didn't feel I should have had to deal with. I feel that I should have been yes, I had an advocate, but it's because I went out and got one. Could somebody not be allocated? So yeah, the process is a success, but I just hope that it's a success for other people as well, and that I'm not saying that problems aren't going to arise and mistakes aren't going to be made, but let's try and learn from these, rather than just saying, oh yeah, they happened, right, brush under the carpet. No, learn from them. If you feel that you might want to move out in a year, a couple of years, start the process now. Don't wait until you're ready, because you're damn sure you'll be ready before the social work department will. And so yeah, start early. Be determined, and if you need assistance to go through the process, get that assistance, because you're entitled to it. So yeah.